Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sim Sundays podcast. And this week, for our news section, I'm joined not only by the wonderful Christmassy Santa / random call sign, I'm also joined by George Morgan. Welcome, both of you, sirs.
Thank you
very much
for having me.
Yeah, great to be here. Yeah. Synergy.
So, so our new news section at the beginning of the podcast. The idea is that we wanted to cover gaming news before going into our interview portion of the show. This week is going to be Alessio Cicolari, the guy behind AK Esports, the guy who puts on all of the SRO racing, Ferrari Esports, Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's always in the background, but he makes a lot of the on-site activations happen. It was a really, really great interview. I'm excited for this one to go out and get everyone's thoughts on it, because it's fascinating how much needs to happen behind the scenes to make on-site esports activations happen. And George Morgan will know a lot about that, having been to a lot of them and commentated on a lot of them. But George is here to talk about league racing news. So this is a new segment. Every single week, we're going to talk about general sim racing gaming news, and then we're going to focus on esports. So gaming, esports, interview, guess. All right, we'll call it guess from now on. So that's the new format. We're going to try it out. Any feedback, as always, let us know in the Discord. I thank you to everyone who sent their feedback on, random call sign joining the podcast. I was a little bit nervous, but you've been very well received. They got lots of really nice messages saying they enjoyed that section of the podcast. So without further ado, what have you brought to the table this week?
So I would like to talk about how Assetto Corsa 2 will have a really tall order to fulfill because of what Assetto Corsa has established, and also Assetto Corsa Competizione at a small degree. I think it will be on a situation where Assetto Corsa has done so much that it's going to be very hard for Assetto Corsa 2 to fill its boots.
Well, is it Assetto Corsa, or is it the mods that have been made by the community in Assetto Corsa? So what I'm saying is are we crediting the success of Assetto Corsa and the high bar to Kunos, or are we crediting it to the sim racing community, or both?
It's going to be both at a different way, because we will look at, for example, Assetto Corsa Competizione. It doesn't have any modding. It set itself a little bit different because they wanted to do content that was purely licensed for a league. And it also increased the quality of Kuno's content to a level that is very high. But let's imagine that Assetto Corsa 2 follows those steps. It delivers a very high quality content base, but no mod integration in the same way that Assetto Corsa has, just like it happened with rFactor 2. Will it be able to go over what Assetto Corsa has delivered? So essentially, what Assetto Corsa was a very simple to use tool that everybody now is accustomed to, and whatever else that Assetto Corsa delivers, or Assetto Corsa 2 delivers, it might be a situation that it won't be received correctly by everyone, just like it happened with rFactor versus rFactor 2, or Automobilista 1 versus Automobilista 2.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you're kind of comparing the initial launch of AC2 with a very evolved version of AC. Because when AC came out on day one, no doubt the day one release of AC2 will be far better. So in terms of comparing the studio releases, that presumably will be very kind of complementary. But when you compare the evolved version, it is going to be interesting. And I think one of the things that will be fascinating is Content Manager. So everybody uses Content Manager to launch Assetto Corsa. It's the only game I know of where it's a minority of people that use the actual game when they double click the game icon to launch it. I did it recently, actually, a couple of weeks ago in the office. I double clicked on the Assetto Corsa logo by accident. And I was like, what the hell is this? And you get that video and the music, and you get that tiny little menu. And I was like, oh, this is the game. I forgot that this was the game, because it had been like 3 years since I had opened Assetto Corsa, which is bizarre. So I'm interested to see how they approach that, because they will have learned so much, right? So Kunos aren't daft. Kunos are a group of incredibly talented, incredibly intelligent people who want to make games because they're passionate about racing. Like, I've been very fortunate to meet most of the studio at Kunos, and they all love racing, and most of them race themselves, right, at various levels. So I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that they will have been watching intently all the progress that has been made on Assetto Corsa by the community, and will be picking and choosing which bits they bring into AC2. So I do agree that AC has set a high bar for AC2, but I'm quietly confident in the studio itself to get this right.
I have something a little bit on this conversation. Is like we've seen. I think everybody has seen the force feedback of AC1 versus versus Competizione.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody prefers, or almost everybody prefers, the Assetto Corsa force feedback. Imagine if they bring Assetto Corsa Competizione force feedback into AC2, or a type similar to it, with no way to change seat of pants, and the modding support is very small. I think that's, even if the force feedback might be more evolved in it technically, a lot of people won't like it. Like, a lot of people don't like Assetto Corsa Competizione force feedback. So all the small things might become something quite large when Assetto Corsa 2 launches, unless it's exactly the same thing as Assetto Corsa, but better graphics, better engine, and I highly doubt it's going to be like that.
Well, maybe it's probably the optimist in me. I hope you're wrong, man. I really hope you're wrong. But we're going to move now from very, very old, i.e. Assetto Corsa, to very, very new. Rennsport had their patch 1.7 that came out. It's promised some physics update. We've got a new track, the Orchard Road street circuit. We've added some beta liveries, which is exciting. They've got their league manager system. And something which I was very nerdily excited about was an update to the UI, right? So the user interface that the gamers go through in order to get to a point where they are racing. I always found it very old school, considering like Rennsport. Well, we don't want to talk about digital ownership. They mentioned, they dropped that bomb right at the beginning and have been struggling to kind of recover from that stereotype that people have kind of placed upon them. So yeah, it was very interesting to see they're super forward thinking, and yet their UI looked like a Windows 95 style UI.
Well, it's just UI, isn't it? It doesn't really matter much, because
it's not just
game
UI.
isn't better. It's just UI now. I know it's not just UI. UI is very, very important, but as long as it's straightforward, UI can always improve. As long as it's not original Assetto Corsa UI. That was bad.
I think
there'd be a nostalgia factor.
Yeah, I think on the Rennsport side, I think with the UI, and I think you're absolutely right, Tom. I think it's quite basic, I think, in comparison to various other sims that we have out there. But I think it's maybe hedging their bets in terms of priorities in a way. I would imagine they'll probably look at the RT sort of stuff later on down the line. At the moment, I think it's all just around functionality at this early stage, just to make sure the key components work. Obviously, they've spent a lot of time doing community stuff too, because the amount of championships we've now had, major championships, we've had 3, but obviously the spring major, Gamers 8, and then of course the fall season major that we've just had in Sweden as well. So there's been a lot of, I think, community work in terms of, sim racing, competitive esports, just to get the overall functions right within the game itself. Obviously, I know the sim racers are having their input, things of that nature. I think eventually, going down the line before release, I think we'll see that UI gets looked at, I would think.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And to be clear, I guess I have no criticism of the UI being basic. I'm more excited that it's being looked at now, because nobody, the community will not complain about a poor UI if the cars drive well and there's a good community system built into the game. But my question is, do we think that Rennsport is improving fast enough to keep the community interested? Because I think it's very much placed itself in an esports category, and it's been met with mixed reviews. I've driven it. We've got the beta in the office. Like it's fine. I think I've always said it's not bad. It's not something we're not going to slam it and be like, this is a terrible game. Why does everyone like it? Like it's a good feeling game. But if you compare it to ACC or even AC or Automobilista 2, I still can't see the differentiator that's like, bang, here it is, the future of sim racing. Well, I mean, maybe I'm missing something.
The differentiator now, it doesn't exist. They have announced it on Munich last year about modding support and all of that. But at the moment, they can't really keep people interested because all we see is GT3 racing. And for GT3 racing, you go iRacing, you go Assetto Corsa Competizione. Even though, in my opinion, the driving for esports, it's the correct model that they have, but because they are not able to push through the idea that Rennsport is not just a GT3 game, then everybody will think of it of another GT3 game that probably drives worse. Doesn't really matter, and that's essentially what it is right now. They need to show mods outside of the spectrum, or they need to show content outside of just racing. They need to show something different, and maybe, just maybe, people will get interested in it.
Well, I mean, they've launched the Praga R1 and they've got the Porsche Mission R, so it's not exclusively a GT3 game. And, you know, we were fortunate to have Rennsport on it's Morris, the founder of Rennsport. We had him on the podcast, and he made it very, very, very clear. He was like, Rennsport will not be a GT3 game.
Yep, I've heard the same from him.
Purely for
I tested the touring car as well.
Yep, makes sense, right?
Yeah, I tested TCR as well.
Right, exactly.
So that was back in Sweden. So yeah, they've got a whole host of stuff that they're bringing to the table.
I tested a free roam in Munich, and I tested other stuff. I also tested the Praga, but that's not the message that is being put through with the content they create. It's one thing having 99% of their content being GT3 racing, and having the CEO saying this is not a GT3 game, even if there's content out there that is not GT3, and then it's another actually going through showing that it's really not a GT3 game. And everything shows that is a GT3 game, but it is.
I mean, your logic is undeniable, to be fair. I'm particularly excited for the TCR racing. I did a lot of TCR racing on Race Room, and I absolutely loved it. At Sim Racing Expo 2019 or 2020, I can't remember. That somebody dropped out of the TCR Race Room race on the stage. And Steve Worrell from race department at the time was like, Tom, go and race. We can't have an empty rig on the stage. And I was like, oh my God, I was so unprepared for this. But honestly, TCR racing was so much fun. So I'm excited to see when they start to release that content. And I'm also excited to see what opportunities that will open for esports competitions that are different. So imagine getting TCR to an ESL stage, right? That would be epic. However, we need to move on because we're pressed for time. So we're going to go from really, really big studios to really, really small studios. So we had 2 announcements in the last week about some small games. Expedition's a mud runner game. I say smaller, actually. Snow Runner is, if you look at CGB, it's one of the as a automotive game, racing game, whatever you would call it. It's actually one of the largest player base. But I guess in the sim racing world, it's maybe slightly in the peripherals of our focus. I never tried Snow Runner because I don't know what it is. Right, I've never been excited by like snowscapes in games. Which sounds really stupid because obviously there's so much more to that game than just the fact that it's in the snow. But it always put me off. But Expeditions, it's got a really catchy name. Expeditions, a mud runner game. This one looks really interesting. Pre-orders are now open, and I'm excited to give this very physics-based. It's probably a driving game. Let's call it a driving game rather than a racing game. A go.
Yep. Yeah. Just to add a point, Snow Runner is 3 years old. It has about 8,000 concurrent people playing at any given time. So it's not a small game.
No, I think it's from like a hardcore sim racer's point of view. It's always like one of those ones that sits on the edges of our world. So I guess it's less in focus perhaps to our listeners. But you're right, it is bigger than all the other games that we talk about. A game that isn't bigger than all the other games we talk about, which I'm excited to try, is Gene Rally 2. Gene Rally 2, the early access has been announced for first half of next year. It looks really cute, right? It looks nice. It's kind of like Art of Rally, Circuit Superstars. It's got that kind of cartoony top-down look. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, toy car carpet. That kind of like it's nice. It's nice to have that those kinds of escapes in racing games or something like that. I really miss the old Micro Machines.
Yeah,
not the ones they had released like 2 years ago. I mean, like the really, really old
late
Micro
90s.
Machines that you'd race in a bathtub. Yeah, exactly. Those games used to be really good.
Well, I'm excited to see more of the more indie studios seem to be trying out racing games. I was fortunate enough to go to South by Southwest Game Developers Conference in San Francisco and Gamescom in Germany this year, and the amount of indie studios that I saw doing these racing games with enormous. There were dozens and dozens and dozens of indie racing games, most of which none of us here have heard of, and more of which I can't remember the names of, right? But I tried a lot of them, and they're really fun. So I'm excited to see more and more of these indie games coming onto the scene. But that is enough for our general news. We're going to move on now to esports news and league racing news with George Morgan. First, tell us what League Racing Report is all about, your new venture.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I basically spied a gap, should we say, in what we were currently producing. A lot of it was kind of led with the fact that we've got lots of great stars in league racing and sim racing in general that perhaps don't get the attention they deserve, or at least proper attention. We've got quite a few young new talents as well, looking to burst through the ranks and become future esports stars too. And I just think it's important to sort of bolster the leagues at the same time, give a little bit of helping hand of notoriety to those young drivers that are now really pushing and making a name for themselves. And that's what I feel is important. The community response has been unreal. I think over the last 2 days of us being in existence now, we've captured the imagination of many. We're working with a numerous number of leagues and things of that nature. We've got the commentators now becoming contributors and editors, producing videos, which is fantastic.
Jessica's contribution.
Yeah, she's getting involved. We've got Nathan Richards as well, who stepped up now, and he's joining the fraternity. And we've got many others. We've even got an Australian branch now that we've opened up as well, because we've got the rapidly growing Oceania. The Oceania side has been growing rapidly with their championships too.
Great. Okay, so what's been happening in the last week? What have been the highlights?
Well, we've got quite a few. Looking at PSGL in itself, Cameron Dowd's 14 years of age, won at Singapore Marina Bay earlier on this week. Well, late on last week. 14 years of age, won by 10 seconds. Top tier of F1 league racing. Random call signs having a hemorrhage, right? Yeah, but this kid, honestly, he's got talent.
He's 5. He's won against Hamilton by 2 laps.
Yeah. Oh, he's a machine. He's a young star, Cameron Dowds. I truly believe that this kid's going to go far. He raced in PCF1 earlier on in the year and really impressed. Was on the precipice of a podium as well at Spa 2. Surprised everybody at PSGL and became a fan favorite instantly. He has since moved back to PSF1. And he's taken 2 wins on the bounce now and looks like he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm actually eyeing him and Otis Lawrence to be the F1 esports stars of the future. So be sure to keep your eyes on those two. Other news as well, Francesco Bertani is the PSGL GT7 Porsche Fest champion after coming home 4th yesterday as well. And other big news as well, Tom, Super Formula is coming to PSGL as well.
Oh, nice.
That is very exciting. I'm really enjoying how WOR and PSGL are kind of broadening the racing that they have on offer. And I love how they've essentially kind of democratize the process of building towards an esports career, which, there's a lot of responsibility, that sits with Connor, Luke, and their respective teams in both of those leagues.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, as well, WR doing some incredible things. The team events have been great. They've sort of been nurturing the competitive community teams too. So we're seeing now the announcements from WR around Legacy Division, which is now coming back, and they're pushing that up. That announcement, the calendar was made yesterday, which you can find on their respective pages on X. PSGL themselves are on the final round. They at this point, it would have been obviously earlier on this week that they would have had the finale of PSGL series, which is fantastic. The response to that has been great. Ferrari Esports took that championship, but these are the major teams that you would expect to see in F1 Esports introducing themselves as their team in league competition, which I think is fantastic. It sort of, validates those organizations, those leagues, and sort of highlights them as well, because we've got the likes of Veloce as well, who put teams in, and also Williams as well. So, that's massive, because you see these teams, obviously competing in the F1 Esports Championship and obviously the ESLR1 Championship in modern times.
Yeah, I love it. It's and it's totally deserved as well. Like the guys that run these leagues, they put thousands and thousands of hours and passion into these projects, and watching them grow over the last few years has been fantastic. And to see the big names turning up to league racing, community league racing, I think it's a bit of a, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like an inflection point in sim racing to see that the large brands are seeing the power of community racing, and I'm going to say supporting it rather than trying to kind of, exploit the situation. I feel it feels to me like a very supportive action rather than a kind of like, well, okay, if this is where all the viewership is, so we need to get there for our viewership. It feels like it's more of a nurturing process.
Oh, they're passionate about the game, and I think that's what's important. I think that they're just trying to, elevate the scene. I mean, obviously, on one level, elevate themselves as leagues, but also at the same time, they know how important it is that the wider community is working together. It's and that goes for the actual game in itself as well. They contribute a lot of what they find, whether it be issues with the games or anything. They send that across to the developers. So they have like a direct line with EA Sports F1 and various others, to obviously air their thoughts, and if there's any problems, they always highlight it. There's actually a really refreshed outlook, I think, on communication between leagues and esports in comparison to when I remember it being back in 2017, 18, 19. I think since we've sort of grown as leagues, and now we're seeing PSGL get viewership for the PC F1 Championship. Bahrain, we recorded, I think, just over 200,000 viewers. Which was unbelievable. Which is competing with your, with your F1 Esports, championship. So there's more eyes on the product than ever, and it's growing all the time. And very soon, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 250,000 this coming year.
Just to give the viewers a little bit of scale, that's over 10 times as much that the official SRO for real life racing gets.
It's madness.
So
it's crazy, isn't it?
That's mad.
Yeah. Unreal.
It's impressive. It's impressive what they're building. Well, George Random, thank you so much for joining us this week. And obviously we'll be doing this every week from now on. A little roundup of general gaming news, or general sim racing gaming news, and esports and league racing with the newly appointed Sim Sundays co-host George Morgan. Thank you for joining me. And enjoy the interview with Alessio Cicolari of AK Esports. See you guys next week. Alessio, busiest man in sim racing. How are you, sir?
Hi, Tom. I'm very, very good. Thank you.
How has your year been? Another quiet one?
Yeah, let's say that it's not yet finished. So let's say still a lot to work. End of year balance, putting everything together what we did, and it's always huge the amount of work we had this year. And every year is the same. So you start a new year thinking, let's see what project I can complete, what new customer I can have. But at the end of the year, you have so many stuff, and I'm happy. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm not, but sometimes it's challenging. So time for everyone is 24 hours, so it's not easy. So let's say this year was a very impressive year in terms of what we managed to achieve in different continents, not just in Europe and Italy. So
it's been incredibly impressive to watch. We met a few years ago, and I've been watching AK Esports and AK Informatica, and the other, because there's 3 or 4 businesses that you kind of seem to run all at once. I have no idea how you do it, but there isn't much going on in the world of sim racing that you don't play a part in. That you seem to have some role in basically everything that I see, and obviously the big. I don't know if you would consider it a headline, but for me, I would probably see as one of the biggest things you guys did this year was the SRO Esports Series, following the Endurance Series around Europe, setting up the Fanatec Arena and running the SRO Pro and Sim Pro Series.
Yeah, let's say that is probably the most challenging in terms of effort, in terms of man work, in terms of also our effort globally. Because it's not just something we make for someone else. It's a project we developed back from, I think, the first discussion about this kind of series started in 2017, even before the game was even announced. And so it's sort of my baby. Sometimes I don't care about the business plan and so on. So it was huge. I'm super happy. You were also involved, so we have few time to meet on site because everyone was super busy on site to manage everything. And you say right, we make a lot of stuff around sport, especially sim racing. So if we don't organize, we rent equipment. If we don't rent equipment, we have stuff in it. Otherwise, we support publisher or organizer. So even in Italy, where we started our business, we act like this, even working for our competitors, because in my opinion, I don't have competitors. I don't want competitors. For me, always has been partnership or finding a spot in the market. The market is not that big that we can have competitors right now. So the effort that everyone should have is basically to grow the business together, because it's still small. Even compared to the esport globally, not just globally about business and business. I mean, globally, it's a need to grow. And if we start with competition, it's not a good thing. So I always had that approach. Not always was good, because I must tell you, sometimes some partnership went good, sometimes not. So it's a process where you learn lessons, and the next time you don't do the same mistakes. You make mistakes to improve yourself. So I mean, it has been a great opportunity for sure, developing this enormous project. And have also to tell you that it's the first time in the world that the esport competition become also mixed together with the real one. Probably thanks also for the sim racing, that is the only esport that actually act like the real sport, because there is no other kind of esport that is doing like this. So even football or NBA or whatever it is, you don't act the same. So it's a kind of easiest way to integrate itself. But it was still a crazy idea that we had to do something together. Obviously, thanks to Fanatec and SRO, where we are a part of it. Obviously.
Yeah, and it's I want to go back to the start. I want to find out what it was within you that led you to go down this path, and what inspired you to build this esports sim racing empire, right? But just for context, for those who perhaps don't know, if you haven't heard of Alessio or you haven't heard of AK Esports, you're very much a facilitator, right? So the brand at these events tends to be secondary. It's the Fanatec Arena at the SRO. AK Esports is there doing the business, making it happen, but it's maybe less visible, so people might not realize. But it would be just for the benefit of those people listening to the podcast now, so that we can see where you've got to when we go back to the beginning. What you put on in the paddock at the SRO events is insane. So I sat down in the esports arena, which has 30 Fanatec rigs in it with a stage and a screen at the front. You have multiple events going across the weekend. You have the Sim Pro Series, the Sim Series, where essentially drivers can win points for the real world championship by sim racing, right? So the achievement here isn't just the physical creation of this arena inside the paddock at Monza. I'm not going to get the order right here, but I think it's Monza, Paul Ricard, Spa,
Barcelona.
Nürburgring, Barcelona. Like, so I went to every single one, and it was insane. And it was kind of interesting, right? Because it was kind of this little microcosm inside the paddock that was the same regardless of which paddock. So you'd sit in there, and from where you were sat, you wouldn't know if you were in Nürburgring, Spa, Barcelona, which was kind of it was a really cool feeling. It gave us this sense of, it was like the sim racing community kind of porting itself around virtually. But then you go out the doors of the esports arena, and you're at a different track. I love the experience. And there was a point, I think it might have been at Spa, where obviously it was during the Spa 24 hours, and the race happened as the sun went down. So this was probably one of the most popular, right? So all of the seats in the arena were taken. People were packing out the between the back row seats and the door was absolutely packed with people stood up. And then there were even people stood outside looking in through the window to watch this event, right? And I remember sitting down to watch the race, and it was light outside. And then we watched the race, and the race went from light to dark. And as the race went from light to dark, I turn around, and outside it's dark. And it was just this perfect fusion of sim racing and motorsport. And you could just about hear over the sound of the speakers, the sound of the real cars going around the track. You couldn't have felt any more connected with motorsport and sim racing than being sat in that arena. Now, what I'd love to do is find out how long it took in years for your idea, your vision of AK Esports to go from nothing to that incredible event.
Well, it's a long journey. Let's say I start from the beginning. Let me start from the very beginning. It was 2009 when we opened the first gaming store in Italy, because AK was born 2004, even if the other company I had before was 2001. So, long time working in IT especially. So we were dealing with producing computers. So AK, the main business for AK is building computer and selling hardware. But after 2009, I decided to open a gaming shop, because I was the worst customer ever for everyone. Because I wanted, now everything was new, like new video card, the new 3DFX, whatever it is, I don't remember at the time, was on the market. And I said, Amazon was not yet everywhere. So I need something that people like me would love to have, like the new video card the day on the release, gaming computers, even if it was the first one, like, Cooler Master with the first gaming chassis with not yet LED, but with the neon.
The RGB was coming.
Yeah, I was still assembling those kind of computers. And to, let's say, improve our marketing strategy, I decided to put a simulator inside the store. It was one of the first simulator we had. And opened just after a bit gaming area inside in the store. We were the first store in Italy with the integrated esports center. I think we were few in Europe globally. It was a crazy stuff. I mean, no one was understanding what we were doing, but I knew very well. So we started organizing tournaments inside the stores and working with the first influencers. I was still new, like YouTubers. And so we met the biggest YouTubers at that time, that now are still the biggest in, not just in Italy, but even the world, like Kabilame or other friends. No, so we grew together. And we developed this kind of new influencer marketing, creating gaming PCs for those guys that were promoting us and growing together. And I don't remember the year, but Kunos was about to release the new Assetto Corsa, and we had a sort of activity with NVIDIA, where different stores inside the country was having like a sort of tournament. I think the game was still in alpha or beta or something like that, and we participated in. And then it was a funny story because the first time I met Marco Asaro and Kuros, I was not invited to the launch of the game, but one of my friends that now is the game designer, sorry, the game developer. I don't remember the job title of Davide Brivio, but it was a YouTuber, one of the first YouTuber we worked with, and he was a YouTuber before going to Sparco and then to Kuros. We were friends, no? So I said, Davide, can I come with you? I will act like a cameraman or something like that, even if I was not good at all.
Just carry his bags.
So we went together. I've been part of the release of the game. I had the chance to meet Marco, Aris, Stefano, and all the others, and I fell in love with the environment. We had then Milan Games Week, Luca. Then we started, let's say, interact together directly with Kuros, which is one of my biggest partners. So. AKA couldn't exist like this without Kuros, for sure. I have to thank Marco and all the guys working in Kuros because we developed something together exciting. And I hope also that we had some part on what they did also. And basically, we then have the chance to develop our activity through in the paddocks directly with the customers we had, Isombra Racing. I don't know if you can see the Ferrari wing we have behind. It was from the team when they won the Italian championship, and they gave me as a can gift signer with the drivers.
That's very
because
cool.
At that time I was just selling computers to them, but I said, guys, look, we can do this exchange. I give you computers and support, but let's do something together because I want to bring simulator in the paddocks. I'm sure people will love it. Then we started bringing a simulator on site. Then we created like sort of competition, and we showed to Sport, which is the local ASN, like ACO Motorsport UK, and to create a championship. Then the next year, and I think it was 2017, I proposed. We had a conversation with Porsche in Italy because they wanted to run simulator, and I remember Sparco just released the new cockpit that was designed and developed also with Davide Brivio. Still, there was a Sparco. Lot of connection.
Yeah. Small sim racing world.
And they basically wanted to rent simulator. And I said, no, to Valentina Albanese, which is the head of motorsport in Porsche in Italy. She was also a super good driver in TCR. And I said, Valentina, look, let's do like this. I don't want to rent you the simulator, but let's make a championship in your hospitality parallel to the real world. Like what we do now with SRO. And the idea was super good that she said immediately yes. And we give as a prize the last race of the year to the winner. We got lucky that the first year Enzo Bonito won. He was also a good driver because I must tell you that in 3 weeks, having the challenge to make the license to the driver. So all the courses, that's for the license. And putting him on the car because at the beginning, I didn't realize she wanted to make them drive. I was expecting like as a two-seater to have the race, not for sure racing in a few times, but we make it. In the same time, we were dealing with Kunos and SRO to make the first activity with the ACC. We had in Spa, and Spa, I agree with you, is a special environment. So it's
magic.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's magic. That's why we started in Spa with Pirelli to have this kind of hot lap competition when still Enzo Bonito won. We had the Camin Flauzak and I don't remember the name of the other guy, but you know, the fastest driver always the same at that time. So I had a crazy idea to tell Marco, let's do like this, and together with Davide, say let's propose to SRO to have a championship around the endurance year. So we'll find a way to bring the simulators, all the equipment, side to side. There was no budget. So everyone was putting his own effort, like SRO space. We were bringing all the equipment and the production. We had the RC, the Sparco, Trustmaster, Fanatec helping round by round. So we changed all the cockpit every time. Assembling in Nürburgring, we hosted the race in the box. In Spa on the rooftop with the so loud environment that I still
oh my goodness,
an headache. Put a car inside the hall of the pit building, and let's say we proved that it was a good idea. We had immediately a lot of people playing. We had 3 series together, the Pro on invite, then we have the Silver qualified online, and then the AM, they were qualifying on site. We had a lot of people coming every round to qualify for the final. We had like Nils, David Tonizza, Amos, and many other fastest driver. And after that, obviously, the next step would be increase that. Then the COVID happened.
Yeah.
In the meantime, in parallel, had another crazy idea that was texting to a message to a Ferrari guy that was in CC in an email with Kunos just to sell a computer for a Ferrari store. And I asked Marco, look, can I ask that guy if I can meet him, because I have a couple of ideas that probably Ferrari would be interested. And boom, in 1 year, we was in charge to create the team, to create the Ferrari Esports Series, and the rest is story. We won the F1 Esports Championship with David, and an incredible team with Amos, with Stefano, with everyone. It was not easy, I must tell you, because it's not like now that everything already set is clear. To make a company like Ferrari working in that field was not easy at all. But I was happy. I'm still happy. It's still one of my biggest achievements, I must say. And so let's say during COVID time, it was hard. We needed to change completely our business model, but like everyone.
Yeah.
We got lucky because in the meantime, working with Ferrari, Porsche, Asaro, and everyone, we had the chance to make a couple of charity challenge. The first one was made with Asaro, where we had like a lot of real drivers competing in. And it was insane. We had Jason Button and many other F1 drivers. It was crazy. And everything boomed when especially F1 Esport went to make these celebrity races. And it's a funny story when we needed to, let's say, equip Charles Leclerc, his brother, and other with equipment, because obviously it was locked down, but my business, as computer business, I could travel.
Yeah.
So basically in 2 days, we brought a simulator to Charles, setting up his Twitch channel, because I said, probably it would be fun to have also the live stream on that. And I couldn't expect that success that he has during live stream. I know he's a genuine guy, he's super funny, and I love him. Basically, it's insane, the thing he can do, not just in the car, but also in the simulator. And he was training a lot. I mean, I remember, you can ask also all my guys, we were basically in Discord every hour of the day, with him, with Valentino Rossi, with many other F1 drivers, even with NBA players that were connecting also to have these races. We made one super big in Sky, with Sky TV in Italy, also broadcasted in Twitch in different regions, the All-Star Racing Night. So we also developed technology at that time, because it was not easy to make this kind of streaming. Now it's used, everyone uses a virtual studio, remote connection, NDI, Dante, blah, blah, blah. But at that time, no one was using. Especially, you could basically not buy anything, because everything was sold out. No? So we created this kind of new technology that even now, some of the television production are using, because are, let's say, quickest, easiest, and cheapest, especially. So we've been in contact with many VIPs. We did service provider also for F1 for an activity they did with the Heineken, shipping simulator, remote connection. So we develop a lot of skills. So every time we have the chance to do something, it's not just because someone else pay us and then we did it, but we try to increase our know-how, and especially the let's say, all the skills that we will use for other activity. This is our, let's say, business model globally. Just after COVID, we got lucky also that Fanatec decided to be title sponsor, not just for the esport, but globally for the entire series of at the time it was the Blind Pain GT series, and now it become the Fanatec GT World Challenge. And in a few months, I remember with Anthony Coma, we had like 3 months to put everything together, to source the supplier for the tent, to design it, to realize it, to put all the simulators together, us with Fanatec. They've been here like 3 weeks to put everything together. It's an incredible thing we made, and I still remember that it was 2021, so still in lockdown.
Yeah,
and everything. The first race it was in Monza. I was still in lockdown, and it was not easy, but it was a great success. Difficult situation was to manage the teams to believe in the project, because you can imagine you are a team manager, a real team. You now have to compete in esport, and maybe you don't have interest or you don't know it. So basically, you maybe misjudge it because you don't know. When you don't know something, the risk is you misjudge it. So we had the first year where we had the chance to give them also this new tool, because if some of the team did it, some other not, but it's also a tool they can use for marketing and promotion of the team itself, not just for training, because the drivers were already contacted by Kunos to develop the game, because during the process of developing the game, they were in contact with different teams to have feedback from the driver, feedback from the team, feedback from Pirelli, and everything. So year 2 was easier, and the year 3 was a success, where basically I pushed personally to have the Sim Pro series, because I said, look, F1 is still not doing anything in LAN. No one is doing LAN. We love to do LAN. I love to have community on site. I believe that the community need also to have our on-site activity, not just in this kind of venue, but also sim centers, esports centers. I have sim center and esports centers, so I know very well. I also promote it as a way for make social contact with real people, and it's a huge opportunity. And I think it was successful. We still need to improve some of the situation. The budget is obviously need to be taken care, so we cannot spread money everywhere. So we need to be more. So we don't have Arabian money. Let's go like this. We have to. At the end of the year, the balance needs to be over zero, because otherwise season 2 will be difficult to have it. We are living in a market where actually you have to see if a business is something where people is wasting money just for visibility, or is an actual business, because sometimes is a problem with esport, because it changed the level, but with no business related. I don't want to mention some of them, but you can
yeah.
And even if it's a good thing, but when it's too much and there is no actually business model behind, I'm still worried, because otherwise we need to try to follow, but it's kind of impossible. I'm more pragmatic, so I want to do things that can be done, and everyone is happy to do it, not that some of the partners are unhappy. So, and then basically we are here. We have our AK just announced it. That basically is a licensed company run by Mikio and Steve. So it was a good thing we needed to do, especially after Brexit. It's not easy to work in the UK.
Apologies again.
I mean, every issue has got an opportunity. Like we had an issue with the esport regulation in Italy with the government, and I'm still in court. So with some of them.
I remember you telling me about that.
And now I took the good side, where I'm also a consultant. So me and my lawyers created the first esport laws for San Marino, and the law project that's now in the Italian Parliament is something that I put consultants here. So I'm happy for that. So for an entrepreneur, the thing you have to do, the bad thing, you need to turn in a good thing, like we did in during COVID. Otherwise, you're better to change job and do something else. And I think I talk too much, but
no.
I try to condense our story, skipping the not important stuff, but it has been a story made of connection and people. Some of them are always the same, because when I trust people and I work with someone, for me it's like having brothers, and for me it's more important the relationship with people than the business itself. Probably because I'm the business owner of all my companies, or even if I have partners, let's say I control them, and so I can decide whatever I want, even if it's not profitable. So
it's so personal, because businesses work with each other, and you see a partnership, and you think, oh, this group is now working with this group. Their logo is seen next to their logo, but actually, on the face of it, it tends to be a very small number of individuals who have built up a very personal relationship of trust in order for that partnership to work. Like whenever I'm in the paddock, you're always around the key people that you're providing value to through AK Esports, and they're providing value to you either through licensing of the game or space in the paddock or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, no, it's super important, and it's something that I think I picked out of that summary. And by the way, I think for 10 years of more than 10 years, 20 years of 22 years of passion and hard work, I think condensing that to 10 minutes is pretty impressive. But something I've picked out of that is that you were always working and creating in a market that didn't quite exist yet. It was always like you were the classic thing is a business is offering a solution to a problem. But actually, a lot of the time, the problem was hard to see by most because you're always operating on the frontier, almost past the frontier. You're operating in a market that most of the time didn't exist. And perhaps now SRO and F1 Esports is kind of the culmination of that, where you've been thinking at this level, the market has been catching up. And in about 22, 23 is where the ambition and vision that you've been building has been caught up by the market, the demand for it. What was that like in the early days? Did you have a sense of, I'm taking a gamble here, I'm building up a world of expertise and a world of assets that I believe will be incredibly valuable in 10 years time, but nobody has a crystal ball, so I'm gambling purely on my own intuition and assumptions?
Yeah, it's not a gamble, but yeah, you're right. So I love to do something that has not been done yet. I get bored very, very quickly. So when something is done the same way, one time, two time, I don't have interest. So I prefer myself to put challenge on me because it keeps me alive and keeps me interested, and I love to develop new stuff. If I could choose what is my real job, would be just developing ideas and someone else doing. So this is my dream for the future, because obviously, and now 43 years old, my obviously, it's I'm not 20 years old anymore, so I want to change a little bit that. Gamble is not the real word, because obviously when we decide something, I'm quite sure that will be good. The only thing, you don't know exactly when the market reach your idea. So sometimes other people makes the money and you, let's say, create the path. Sometimes you are lucky and you live maybe in USA and you have like a huge investor and you boom, because it's the way the things happen in USA, for example. Like if Elon Musk was born in Italy, probably he would be working like me, like, because you cannot boom like that. And that's why we are opening the new AK USA, because we believe also in the future we'll be developing something in America, and not just about esport and gaming, but utilizing the esport and gaming for other purpose that I cannot disclose too much, but it's something that I believe would be the next step. Like you were saying before, I need to create something new, because otherwise everyone is doing tournament, everyone is doing with automotive brands. Some of them I didn't want to work anymore because I had new projects. So it's something that for an entrepreneur is common. I say, if you are a good businessman, you always need to find something new, because the market right now is quick. It's not like 20 years ago. Before someone gets you, takes time. Now, especially with AI, I can analyze everyone. I can check the business model of everyone. I can put data, I can copy, I can do it better. I can find another investor to. It's not the thing I want to do. I want to be proud of what I do. I want to find the resources to continue to grow. to give business also to my employees and to my partners, because we are a family, first of all. We are not just a company. And it's probably the difference that we have in Italy, where most of the companies are small business owned by families, not like in British American market where a corporation or investors. Italy is difficult that you find investor in companies. Normally are owned by family. If you think like Agnelli family with Fiat, then you have the Barilla family, you have a Ferrero family. Even the biggest industry in Italy are owned by family. Then when they become multinational, then they need to go to the market to raise funds. But we have this kind of way to do stuff, and I am proud. And my wish is that my format in US will be successful. So for me personally, my next step is the new approach to US market. We will have a big partner there, and I cannot wait to announce everything we are doing there, because and it's something that make me, let's say, happy. You can see from my spot. So in Europe, I'm not saying that the market has reached the cap, but more or less, yes. I don't expect too much grow of the business from what we have right now. The opposite. I think now esports is suffering a bit. So I'm moving more of my business on gaming rather than esports. I'm working with one big retail group, is MediaMarkt. So it's I think it's the biggest in Europe. And I put my effort and know-how that we had in the past 20 years of selling things to super geek guys to a big company that maybe need my help. And I love to work with them. We realized crazy project the past 2 years, and this is the thing I think in Europe will grow. But in terms of a pro esport competition, I don't know. I don't think we will see a growth in the short term.
We have this debate on the podcast all the time, and I have continually said that I believe that sim racing is about participation. I think the gaming, the opportunities for the gaming market far outweigh the opportunities for the esports market. Now, esports is great. It's good to have an example of something you can see to perhaps aspire to in terms of talent and have those heroes. But the issue with sim racing is that you're always being compared to motorsport because it's a simulation. So if you have a choice of watching one or the other, you're likely to go and watch motorsport rather than sim racing. But most people can't afford to go and actually partake in motorsport. And so sim racing is a perfect alternative in terms of participation and community building. You know, it's something that we're doing at Gridfinder is how do we empower all stakeholders within a community, not just the drivers, but the league owners, the livery designers, the coaches, the engineers, the broadcasters, the commentators, the stewards. How do you give them tools where they can feed into stuff? So I totally agree. I think a lot of people confuse esports and gaming, and they say them as if it's the same thing, whereas they are totally different concepts, totally different markets, totally different ethoses. But I think if there's one thing that's come across so far, it's that you have a huge amount of ambition, you have an addiction to building, you have projects going on all the time. How do you keep sane? So I follow you on Instagram, and I see that you post a lot when you're in the gym, which is something I can relate to. I think without the gym, I'd have gone mad by now. What methods and techniques do you have to keep sane and balanced and level when you've got so much going on, so many fires to put out all the time?
Yeah, let's say that the biggest problem business manager has right now is that you don't have time to think. Because basically you have emails, you have WhatsApp, you have Discord, especially if you're working gaming, you have too many way of communication, people entering the office. So some of the time I realized, especially 2 years ago, I realized that I don't have time to think. All my decisions are taken like this immediately without even thinking. And I needed to change this, especially because also I needed to change also myself. So I needed to take very big decision on the company, on agreement with new brands or old brands. And so I decided to go into this path. And yeah, you say, right, I'm posting more gym stuff than actually what I do for work, because I mean, the company is posting what I do for work. So what I want to try to do is also inspire other people, and I did it because basically my brother, many my friends, they started my same path. I was probably drinking too much, eating too much, not working enough, and trying to find excuses all the time. So what I did is basically change my schedule, and what I have to do every day is do training, no matter what. I'm not feeling sorry if I have to say to a customer that, oh no, sorry, at that time I cannot because I'm at the gym. It's not something bad. This is my thinking room. When I am at the gym, I have the time to think on new project. I write notes. I take audio notes. So I work more when I'm doing training than when I'm in office in terms of efficiency. And the side effect was that I lost like almost 40 kilos. Now I'm super fit. Wow. I can run for hours. And you can ask also my mate, Mike Yo, when we are together, the first thing we do is basically go out for a run, no matter what. So we were in London. We were in London like last week. First thing, we did a run over the Thames to the Big Ben and back. It was the first thing I was planning. Yeah. Everywhere I go, the first thing I plan is where I can train myself, where I can do running, and such a thing. It's also a way to clear your mind. You know, even when you have stressful situation, you have to really stay around to stay focused on many stuff. If you don't do this, you lose your mind, or you become nervous. You answer in a bad way to people, and a lot of people realize that I changed a lot in the last 2 years. And I don't know if you could or not, but I believe yes, in a good way. I don't feel panic. I don't panic anymore. I don't have to rush on decision, because when I decide something, I already took my decision because I had time to take it. And this is a suggestion for everyone, because this world is bringing us not to have time to think. And the most precious thing you can have right now is time. It's not money, it's not assets, it's not business, it's time. Time is not something you can buy, and the more you can save for yourself and for your family, because I have a family with 2 girls, 14 and 12 years old, and they are gamers. So I'm training them as a gamer, because I'm using gaming and technology as a part of their teaching. No, because esport and gaming can teach you something that nothing else can do. Especially like some soft skills, and even the skills you can have with social media, if you do it in a good way, can become a word. Because basically 90% of my employees, I didn't pick them from university or because they sent me a CV. They are gamers, most of them. The funny story is with Joelle, that now is our head of project management. And it was a guy that I met in an exhibition, in the comics exhibition. He was there and he asked if he can do something like helping with computer. And I said, okay, you can come to look at comics and games at that time. And I was looking for someone to work in the purchase office. Obviously, AK purchase office is something that you have buy gaming stuff. So you need to be a gamer. I cannot take someone from a big company. Yeah. Otherwise, probably he can have good discount, but he doesn't know anything about what to buy. The funny story was that he came to Luca with RV, because there is no space, hotels. And he told me, yeah, I can come, but I am here with the RV. I said, no problem. You can come with the RV in AK, and then we will find a house for you. And it happened. And he started working with us. Christian, which is one of our technician for the esport activities. He was a YouTuber working with us. He was proposing AK to do activity all the time, proposing stuff. Then he started working with us. He came to AK also. So everything happened like this from gamer. And now that I have to manage all these guys, the change I did also in the past 2 years, thanks also to the gym and the training, is that going from a control position that I was always taking, because I needed to check everyone and everything, to another position of give the chance to people to prove they can manage themselves. So I realize also that people can do mistakes, and things can go wrong, regardless of what you can do, and you are not here forever. So I needed to accept this. I did it. So I was like, this year, basically, you probably saw me very relaxed in the arena, but the past years was not like this. I was like jumping from side to side, screaming, or like this. So now I was just sitting, relaxing. Something was not working. Then we discussed after the activity. So it was a good upgrade for sure for my guys. I hope it is, at least. And let's say I have to thank for sure all the training I did and all the mindset I put in my mind. Obviously, you can see in social media now the training, nutrition, something that is very big. Also, nutrition is another thing I changed completely, going to more natural stuff. I don't eat that much meat right now, so I'm more on to fish at least. And it's good. I mean, I feel good. I don't feel pain in any situation. So it's good. I can suggest to everyone this change.
100%. I totally agree. I was fortunate that I'd been in the Navy for 10 years, and so exercise was basically mandated, right? I didn't really have a choice. But then when I left the military and I first started Gridfinder, and I was sat at the kitchen table on Wix building for 14 hours a day, just sat there sedentary, I started to feel like down and low energy. And I was like, I'm not used to this. I'm used to feeling like go, go, go. And I realized, thinking back, like, what have I changed in my life? And it wasn't the fact that I was out of the military and not wearing a uniform and blah, blah. It was exercise. That exercise makes such a huge difference. And it's kind of interesting how most people would consider going to the gym, going for a run as time off. But when you're a founder, or when you know, anybody in any position in life, really, taking that time and investing it in self-care, so whether that's yoga, meditation, running, weightlifting, whatever it is you choose to do, it is an investment in future performance. If you choose not to do it because it might seem like the easiest thing and you've got the best excuse in the world, I can't go to the gym because I have to work, then it's a kind of a catch-22. It's a spiral. You don't work, and so you work less, and then your performance reduces, and so you get more stressed, and so you don't want to work out, and it kind of spirals down. I always think it's my busiest days where getting to the gym makes the biggest difference. So I'll at some point, because I usually go to the gym first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh, do you know what? I could really do without this morning because I'm stressed. I've got loads on today. Today of all days, I don't want to go. Force yourself to go. And then as soon as you finish, you're like, thank God I went to the gym today. Today was the best day to go to the gym, because now you're full of endorphins. You have this sense of well-being. Everything gets kind of dropped down into perspective, and you tackle the day with a much different mindset to just rolling out of bed with that feeling of dread, and then taking that feeling all the way through the day. It's honestly life-changing. It's probably the last thing I would drop.
It's also because you challenge yourself. Because that when I do training in the morning, same thing. Who wants to wake up 5 in the morning? No one. But that's why. I heard a lot of stories. Also, Mike Tyson was saying like this. Or he was saying like, I was not going to run 4 in the morning because I love it, but the opposite, because I didn't want to do it. And this is changing a lot. So if you do things when you are in a comfort zone, it's not something that give you more. So when you go earlier or you go late but you don't have energy, or you expect to run, I don't know, 5 kilometers, and at 4 you feel tired, it's that moment when I push plus to go faster. So when I see that I cannot reach the target, I push the limit and I try to beat it, because otherwise it's too easy to step back and release. So it's something that can teach you the same thing also in the business. It's not just time wasted; it's time that you spend in the right way. So completely. And I did the same back in time with the esport, when I was managing the Ferrari team with David, Amos, and Gianfranco. At that time, I always said that there's a statement in Latin that is mens sana in corpore sano, that means a good mind in a healthy body. So the first thing we did is bring in all of them because we didn't have at that time the facility and nothing. So I brought David Amos and Gianfranco Giglioli here in my headquarters. They were basically training inside the building. And we were going to run every morning at the park. Then we go to swimming pool and all together because they needed to get fit to have a perfect body. Well, at least to improve better in the situation. I mean, David won, so probably I hope that this helped a bit. But also in the real world, when he started to race this year with the Predator Series, when he started, he was not fit too much. Then he started training again, and he won the championship flawless. I mean, it was incredible, faster than the others. I'm not saying the training is the only solution, but for sure helps everyone, not just in the body, but especially in the mind. People underestimate the effort the training has on minds rather than the body. I don't care about the muscle, the thing. I care more what I feel inside my mind.
Yeah, it's so true. I find it to be such a balancing force. So as an entrepreneur, right? So you've created an incredible brand, AK Esports. You've done incredible things. You've got a real great team of like-minded, passionate individuals about you, and you've got opportunities coming to you because of your reputation, and your business seems to be sustaining itself and growing, and it's all driven by a passion. That feels like the dream scenario for a lot of entrepreneurs who are just starting out. Now, I will always consider myself like an amateur entrepreneur, but if there's one thing I've learned in the last 3 years, it's that one of your primary jobs as an entrepreneur, as a founder, is to consciously look for opportunities to learn. You have to learn all the time. You're always going into new spaces, new sectors, new disciplines, whether it's, okay, I need to raise investment, or I need to hire somebody, or I need to write a contract, or I need to work out my marketing. There is always something to learn, because starting out, you'll never know all of it. And at any given point, you might have studied marketing 5 years ago, but today it's basically totally irrelevant, right? You're always learning. Where do you go to learn? Where do you get the source of new inspiration and new skills even?
Let's say for this, I'm quite lucky. I work with different universities, not just in Italy, but we started also cooperation in US. And it's funny because I just decided, I didn't yet post anything about it, to go back to university to follow new courses for international business, because my background is technical. And even if I work in business every day, I don't have, let's say, the science, the base behind. So sometimes my decisions are taken just by experience, which is important for sure. But I need the opposite, what the base. It's not easy, because probably the first exam will be something easy for me or stuff like that. But it's a thing that I want to do it. And we work already with the university at different levels. We created esports schools, courses, marketing masters, where I present also our business. I give my advice as an entrepreneur. I own also a business incubator, so I do a lot of this kind of activities for young generation, especially when I need to give my suggestion of what to do next after school. And let's say that the thing I didn't realize, especially when I was presenting our business to the students, is that I learn a lot when I present what I do. Because the fact you basically tell something is the fact you analyze what you did. Sometimes when I'm talking, even now, I think back to things that probably I needed to do in a different way, or so, this is good, this is not. Then I have the chance to ask directly some professor, some expert. I can go directly to a developer, to a marketing manager or a brand. I work with marketing director of many companies, so sometimes I don't have to ask, let's say, things of what I need to learn. So most of the thing I need to research, the web is very big. I use a lot of AI right now. Even if it's not perfect, I find that AI is for sure something we need to include in daily basis activity. Probably I do too much, but I need to do research. And as we said before, I need to find something new all the time. And even in sim racing, I want to integrate AI somehow, but let me no spoiler something that maybe I cannot do. So we did already some activity with the India Autonomous Challenge, and I want to, let's say, find a way where we can have an interaction. But basically, where I learn the most is when I try to do something. So I want to understand how this process is working, or this activity, if it's good for increasing engagement or not in someone. I do my own projects, so I'm not selling to a brand. I do the AK League, I do this, and I try. I have the Esports Palace or PLB War where we have the Esports Center. Let's try to do this. Then we have the data, we collect data, we do research. I also support a PhD at the local university. Martina is studying basically the use of gaming and esport in the business of corporation. Not just how companies use esport gaming, but why they should use, what are the process, what are the counter side. And this is the way basically I have my information and my updates. And this is obviously every work for me, every job is something that gives me additional information. And I'm like a sponge, so I want to learn. I'm super curious, and that's why I told you that I'm super bored when I do the thing 2 times, because I don't have new stimulation.
That's absolutely fascinating. Me and my co-founder were fortunate enough to go on a 5-month accelerator. So it sounds like an incubator, right? So 5-month accelerator where we did 4 or 5 sessions a week where we learned about customer personas, analyzing markets, working out how to build an MVP, what UX is, what UI is, like kind of the fundamentals of business for 5 months. And there was a bit of funding there to kind of get us off the ground. And now we get invited back to do fireside chats to talk to the guys that are now going through it, to see what we learned, what we took away from it, and where we're at now, and which bits we've passed on. We're certainly not going back as kind of gurus, saying this is how to build a super successful business, because you're always learning. But even that process of going back and talking to them and just kind of recapping what you learned or what you took, or which bits you've really used outside the accelerator, has been a real reflection. Is a really powerful way to gain a deeper understanding of something you already thought you knew, and perhaps challenge some assumptions. I'd love to hear more about the incubator. Do you know what? I'm listening. I know we're over time now, so I don't want to take up any more of your time than we agreed. But I could honestly keep talking for hours and hours and hours. We haven't spoken yet about what it takes to build a physical event, all the moving parts, the broadcasting, the lighting, the stage, the screens, setting up the rigs. Like, there's so much to learn about sim racing from you and from AK Esports. I feel like we might be up for a second episode here. And I really want to find out more about the incubator that you run, how you run it, and how you apply it to sim racing. And Alessio, this has been absolutely fascinating. And I honestly could keep going for hours and hours and hours, but we're 5 minutes over time already. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope you'll come back.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Tom, and thank you everyone in Grid Finder. It will be a good opportunity if we can do an episode 2. You said right, there's a lot of stuff behind, and I don't have any problem to discuss with you or what behind the scene. I do a lot of time at the incubator because we need new people to work in our business. It's not easy. The most challenging part is find new resources and train them, because it's not easy. You cannot find them out of the university. That's why we use our incubator to create new stuff for our own business. And it's a strange incubator. We call it the Academy with AK. We call everything with AK.
Like it.
Also, our B&B is called AK Yoms. So everything is AK. But we basically create, we have a lot of ideas, as you understood, and we don't have enough people to realize them. So we seed and the incubator with people that need to pick up the seed and grow it. Then they can become our supplier, they can become our partners, or they do our own business. So this is what we do. And we did something similar you did with the incubator. So I love that people that did an exit and created something new, then go back. I believe that brainstorming and this kind of I don't know how you say in English, contagion. No? So basically, when you speak, even if you are not doing the same business as someone else, but talking about your business, maybe I can have other ideas for my business, even if not related. So if different business talks together, sometimes you find the best solution, because otherwise you're stuck in your ideas for months and you don't realize what other people maybe is really clear because they are on another business. That's why talking and having this kind of exchange is really important. And thanks for having me. We hope to see you around very soon.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Alessio.
Ciao.